You sell one thing for 10 years, you'll be rich. Now, that's true, but nobody tells you the nuances involved on how you can take your exact service that you currently offer and just 10x your growth in half the time. And for context, it took me 3 years to get to my first 100K a month with my first agency and only 2 months to get to my first 100K a month with my second agency. My current agency right now is a team of over 65, and it does multiple six figures every single month. We also just launched an AI SaaS. It's cool because it could generate AI UGC. That's not what this video is about, but we took it to 20K a month in 2 months. Now, I'm saying that to give me some credibility, as I'm still a relatively small YouTube channel, but what I want to focus on is my first agency and my second agency and the difference between the two and how fast I scaled one versus the other. And so, like I said, it took me 3 years to get to my first 100K month and 2 months to get to my first 100K month with my second agency in the exact same industry with the exact same service, marketing for e-com and info. And I want to make this video to showcase my knowledge to the public so you can identify the signs and gaps in your industry to 10x your growth in half the time, just so you can get rich faster. So I want to go over the first 3 years with my first agency and just break that down. So year one with my first agency, I was selling meta ads. That's it. That was the entire offer. It was meta ads to e-commerce brands, and we were really good at it. And we still are really good at it. But something nobody talks about with the sell one thing is as you start to scale, you start seeing gaps that one thing can't always fix. And if you run meta ads, then you know that if you see a prospect's business conversion rate is absolutely abysmal for their AOV, then meta ads isn't necessarily going to solve that business's main issue of CRO. And if they're growing very fast on meta and consistently need to ROAS their way into profitability with no retention mechanism implemented, well, then the odds of them churning on one bad month are extremely high. I saw this happening and I didn't pivot. I didn't say to myself, okay, meta ads is dead. Time to pivot to something else. I just hit a natural scaling roadblock. And so at the time, I looked at our most recent brands that churned and I asked myself, what else would have they have needed from me to not have churned? And my answer was email or retention marketing. So we interviewed a ton of Klaviyo marketing agencies and we found somebody that was really, really good. And so now on every sales call, I would ask the prospect how their email was doing. And if it was sub 35% of their monthly recurring revenue, then I would close them in Meta and I would also refer them to Kyle. And what I noticed after the first 6 months was that for every brand that we had where we were working on Meta and Kyle was working on their email, we had a churn rate of 0. Not only that, but we would get 10% of whatever Kyle was charging. So at our peak, we were making like $8K just in referral fees. Then from there, as we started to scale even more, our clients would request, hey, do you guys do Google ads? And so what did we do? Well, we pivoted in one of our media buyers that was great at both Meta and Google ads, and we had them just focus on Google ads. And then, bam, all of a sudden, we have a Google division that's a natural adjacent skill to growing these businesses. Then we added CRO. Why? Well, it wasn't to sell more clients, even though it did. It was to keep our current clients on for a longer time period. And if we could have just doubled their conversion rate in 3 months, then we theoretically just doubled their business. And when we did that, those clients never left, and they're still working with us 3 years later today. Then, as we started to grow, we got equity in an e-com brand. One of the first things a buyer looks at if you're trying to purchase an e-com brand is if all paid traffic was to be turned off, how healthy is the brand? And the answer to that is how much traffic is coming in without ads. And to solve that, you need good SEO. So guess what? We added an SEO division to help with our current brand. This was all over the course of 3 years. 4 service lines scaling the same core skill of e-com and info growth. What's cool about this, and where this gets interesting, is during those first 3 years, I was getting approached constantly by THC brands, magic mushroom companies, telehealth brands, knife and gun brands, every single, just gray area brands, right? But every month I was getting the, hey man, we're trying to run ads, but nothing seems to be getting approved by Meta. Nothing seems to be getting approved by Google. Can you run ads for us? And I always had to turn them down because although we knew how to do it, the workload was just 3x compared to our normal clients. And we had to charge 2x the price. And if they were a small business, they just couldn't afford it. And it didn't really make sense. So what I noticed was these brands have a massive pain point that literally nobody is solving for them. Meta restricts them constantly. Google shuts them down. And that they are desperate for marketing that actually works and doesn't get restricted, which ding, 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 that's the wound. Anytime you hear a problem come up over and over again on sales calls, you should hear a money counter going off in the back of your head because that is a ginormous opportunity for you to make a shit ton of money. And that's when I realized something. SEO doesn't get restricted. You can't ban a blog once it's ranking. And so we didn't pivot our service. We didn't even pivot our industry. We just looked at where the market was bleeding and we pointed that exact same skill at a different wound. And so what we did is we took our existing SEO offering and we pointed it at broccoli brands and gray area brands. I mean, my ad was literally me catching a piece of broccoli and going, broccoli brands doing over 10K a month. Zuckerberg doesn't like you. We'll get you to rank on Google in 30 days or less. Then we positioned that to like ChatGPT and LLMs. But anyway, and in the first month, we spent 1.7K on ads to close 15K worth of deals. So we're like, holy shit. So in the second month, we spent 10K on ads to close over $100,000 in deals. That's $100,000 a month added from the exact same service we were already running for other brands. We just, again, pointed it at a different wound, or should I say, deeper wound. The math is insane here, but it's because we understood something the market didn't know how to solve. We already had the tool to solve your specific problem. So the framework I want you to operate from and what this means for you and what most agencies miss when they talk about sell one thing for 10 years is the conventional wisdom is find your thing, get really good at it, don't chase shiny objects. And that's true. That's like 95% of the get rich model. But the other 5%, which is where the explosion of growth happens, is this. You need to get obsessively good at reading where your market is bleeding. And then you just apply your existing skills to that wound. You don't necessarily need to pivot your service or build some new product from scratch. You just need to read the pain, and the deeper the wound you can identify, the better. And that's why when I offered a marketing solution for an industry that can't really market the way every other big e-com brand can with Meta and Google, that when I offered the ulterior solution, it crushed. So sell one thing for 10 years, but make sure you're paying attention the whole time, because the brands that actually scale faster than everyone else are the ones who get so good at reading their customers' real problems that they figured out how to use their existing skill in 10 different ways to figure out what's going to resonate the most with the market. And that's the difference between it taking 36 months for me to hit my first 100K month with my first agency and it taking 2 months to hit my first 100K month with my second agency with the same skill. It wasn't a different skill, not a different industry, just a better reading of the market. So if you're an agency owner or service provider right now, the question isn't what's the next thing I should sell? The question is, where is my existing market bleeding right now? And then you build a path to fix that with what you already have. And if that resonates, I go deeper on this on my one-on-one coaching with an agency asset where we map out exactly where your market is hurting and how we can monetize those gaps without adding chaos and essentially turn your agency into an asset that grows without you. But please, for the love of God, go over your past 20 sales calls. Ask your clients what problems they're facing that you're not necessarily solving right now. Find an industry that is struggling where your skills can ease their wound and actually provide a solution for the pain they're going through. I promise you, it's going to make you a ton of money. And the only problem you're going to have is how do I scale talent at scale because we're signing so many clients so fast. If this resonated, click the link below. I'd love to have a one-on-one with you. But if not, I appreciate you watching the video and I'll see you on the next one.